Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So in today's video we're going to be taking a look at how best to defeat Ultron's Assault Variant 1 Chapter 1 first quest. So as we can see, there are 6 paths on this map, 2 on the left, 2 in the middle and 2 on the right. First path on the left side with Hyperion, Mordo and Cable on it basically has power gain and special lock 1. This entire quest has kinetic reactor on it. Now Hyperion is probably one of the harder fights on this map. We're going to be taking a look at how to defeat him specifically. But aside from that, there is kind of nothing too special. You ideally want some power control champions on your side, and you should have relatively easy time after you help beat that Hyperion, because Hyperion can definitely be a bit of pain in the ass, and therefore we're gonna actually have some fight examples against him. Now map path number 2, we have like Yondu on it and whatnot, and that's enchanted special 1 and special 1 bias. Therefore it's nothing really kind of too big or annoying. Once again, unfortunately, how to cross that Hyperion to get there, and that's probably the hardest bit of the map. But aside from that, path 2 has only like 2 special fights on it, and there's nothing too difficult for you to deal with. Now when it's gonna come to middle path have power gain and power reserve on them. Both of the middle paths are exactly the same, and they would be extremely annoying if not for a little kind of cheese method that we have available. And I do have to mention that variant 1 is fairly champion specific. There are going to be many extremely hard fights unless you have the right answers to them. If you do, you're going to have a relatively easy time throughout majority of it. But yes, both of the middle path would typically probably be the hardest ones, if not for a little old forgotten champion like Gambit. As you can see here on the path number 4, again we have power gain and power reserve, and they're gonna have different champions on them obviously, but we're gonna deal with them basically in kind of one example with one single champion. Now to access both paths on the right side, we're gonna have to deal with annoying magic on power gain and kinetic reactor, obviously because that's a global node, and empathic lock, and that magic fight is going to be another fight that we take a look at specifically. But other than that, empathic lock and 50% power gain, it's not really the biggest and toughest thing to deal with, which is for entire path 6. So path 6 is also one of relatively easy ones because the power gain isn't all that huge, and empathic lock you can just kind of wait out. So path 6 is relatively easy compared to the rest of them. Now path 5 has Iron Man, Infinity War and Sentinel on it, and both of those are annoying fights. Unfortunately, there isn't like any kind of special method in dealing with them. You will likely want to use something with Through Strike or any champion that is relatively decent when it comes to dealing with Iron Man, Infinity War or Sentinel. Like good shout would at this point would be to Winter Soldier and Killmonger combo. If you have both of those champions, they too were pretty much my MVPs for clearing majority of kind of regular fights in chapter 1 of variant 1. But first of all, let's take a look at what is the best way to deal with power reserve, and that is Gambit. At this point, any Gambit whatsoever works. He does not need to be duped. Any rarity, any level Gambit will perform exactly the same. Obviously, the weaker the champions, the longer the fights are going to take. And due to power reserve, basically the idea is we can stun lock any opponent, and this method works on every single power reserve node you can find in the game, because Gambit, for whatever reason, despite his ability description, has 100% chance to stun on his level 1. It will never miss. And power reserve basically makes sure you will always have enough power to shoot your level 1 as you finish your combos, because during the stun you typically want to get in like a 2 or 3 combo and then start another combo and finish it off with level 1. Only thing that can go wrong here is you messing up, kind of like miscounting your combos or your finger slip up, because these fights tend to be a bit longer. Like here we are using maxed out 4-star Gambit, and as we can see here, the fight is lasting for a while. We are at 86 hits. So this method is going to take a while, but it can be completely effort or stress free, and most importantly item free. There are some other champions that work really well on power reserve nodes, like Hawkeye or Psylocke or basically any other power control champions, to be honest. But just cheesing it through it all with Gambit in the middle 2 path is definitely going to be by far the easiest way for you to deal with every single opponent on the middle path, and also with that annoying Emma Frost that you have to fight at end of every single path just before boss. So if you are looking to get through Varian cheaply and easily, better dust off your Gambit, rank him up to basically whatever level you can afford to rank him up, and take him in there. He's gonna absolutely destroy the two middle lanes. Now, obviously, as I mentioned before, we also have an annoying fight in front of us, and that is going to be the Hyperion. The Hyperion has power gain, kinetic reactor, and all that annoying stuff. So how are we dealing with him? Well, basically not the best way to fight this Hyperion in this case is to use either Gwenpool or Iceman. Again, any rarity champions pretty much will do, and I'm going to explain that a bit later. So on these nodes, we also have special lock 1 placed on us, which is perfect, which is what we are going to use to heal using willpower mastery. So there you go. For these paths where you see power lock 1, path 1 in particular in this quest, you do want to have willpower on you, just because you want to keep your power lock active for pretty much entire fight. If you want, you can throw your level 1s, because when you're going to be eating the level 3s, it's going to pretty much fill a bar of power anyways. But the point is, Gwenpool and Iceman both can eat and survive special attacks, special 3 attacks from Hyperion with little cost to themselves. They will not die. Obviously your health is going to go low. In case of Gwenpool, it's going to go low more drastically. In case of Iceman, you can pretty much finish this fight on full health. You can and try use power control champions against this Hyperion, but honestly, for most part, his power gain is just pretty much too aggressive and the fight's much more stressful. Therefore, it's much easier time just to kind of go with the flow, eat the level 3s, survive them, and carry on fighting. As we know, Gwenpool won't die from level 3, neither will Iceman if his ice armor is active, and then we can use special lock 1 together with willpower to heal up. Obviously, these fights might take a while depending what kind of rarity and level champions you are using. I am pretty much going to be using only 4 stars or rank 3 5 stars in these videos, just to show that these champions can also deal with the quest. And adding on the same note, I have 100% completed the entire variant 1 using only rank 3 5-star champions and 4-star champions. The full streams of that are available on channel, so if there are any specific fights that you're interested in and you want to see how I tackled them, you are more than welcome to look up those streams on my channel and check it out, how it went down for me when I was clearing it. The runs were not perfect, however overall I was fairly satisfied with kind of like the amount of resources we had to use to get through it with rank 3s and 4-star champions only. And now this fight is going to be nearly over. When this fight is going to be done, we're going to be taking a look at the magic on the right side, which I also think is one of the more annoying fights in this quest. Unfortunately, when it comes to dealing with magics in skill class, our mutant class, there aren't too many good options. However, we do have Blade, which is what we're going to check out in this video. And if you do not have a 5-star blade, do not worry, you can get through with a 4-star blade. You just need to alter your playstyle a bit, and you need to kind of rely on your parries and bleed damage. So we start with empathic lock, so we're power locked, heal blocked, and all that good stuff. But once it expires, basically we can rely on our parries to gain power, to heal off it. And the idea here is we could fight normally, but with 4-star blade, if magic does trigger a limbo, it's going to take a whole lot of health away from us. So we want to push her past her bars of power as little as possible, and we can do that basically just by playing super conservative, constantly parrying, only shooting like level 1 attacks, and just kind of like hoping for a good RNG in this case. Now if you do have a 5-star blade, you're gonna have absolutely no problem dealing with this magic, playing just like against any other magic. But this magic is 26k PI, and her limbo will do a massive amount of damage for lower ranked champions. Obviously, since no tech champions are allowed in this class, you also cannot use your Stark Spidey synergy to kind of empower your danger sense even more. Therefore, you do still have to be careful, because your danger sense only has 40% ability reduction, and that kind of can fail. So yeah, if you're playing with a 4-star blade, you can still get through this fight with relative ease just by altering your playstyle. Obviously, if you have highly ranked other champions of skill or mutant class, they might be able to deal with this magic as well. But once again, this video is kind of like to showcase that you can deal with these opponents, with lower ranked champions still. And next fight that we're going to take a look at is going to be Archangel against this magic, just because Archangel is also a fantastic option, even as a 4-star champion. And you're going to probably notice Archangel mentioned a couple more times in these videos, just because if he works, he's still an absolute beast of a champion. Obviously here in the beginning we're not getting the best RNG, but once we're going to start stacking those neurotoxins, the magic is going to melt away and we're going to be pretty much safe from her limber because of the ability accuracy reduction neurotoxins provide for us. And once again, 4-star Archangel is perfectly sufficient to deal with this variant magic. And that is pretty much going to be it, aside from the champions that I showcased and maybe that Iron Man Infinity War Sentinel on path 5 and Cable on path 1. There aren't really all that many difficult fights in this quest. This quest is definitely explorable without using any items whatsoever if your roster is even moderately advanced for the task. But as this fight is about to be over, before finishing the video, we're going to take a look at boss node and what is kind of like the best things to counter the boss, I suppose. But yeah, so magic goes down here, nothing too difficult for a 4-star Archangel. And when it comes to dealing with the boss node, first and foremost, the boss on this node has animations of original Black Panther. When it comes down to the nodes, he doesn't really have anything restricting or particularly damaging for you. He has Spite on, but it doesn't really matter just because, well, they don't have level 3 attacks. Static Blast basically is going to make it harder for you to use your special attacks, and you want to make sure you do not go to absolutely no power against this opponent. But other than that, there's once again those power gains, spites don't really matter. The things that you do need to keep in mind that these Ultron bosses are bleed immune. Since they are bleed immune, you do not want to rely on bleeding champions for this boss fight. Some great options are like Aegon, Winter Soldier, basically champions that can hit hard or ramp up their damage because they are tanky. But yeah, so as long as you do not rely on bleeding these guys, you will be perfectly fine against this boss. And even if you do, you will still be able to take him down. It's just going to take you a lot longer because once again, these guys are fairly tanky. But that is going to be about it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope this is going to be useful to, well, anyone. And if it is, do not forget to hit that sub button, hit that bell button to stay notified, like, share it, all the good stuff. And I'm gonna catch you guys soon. See ya.